Hunting pedophiles. What do I mean by hunting pedophiles? I don't carry a gun. Obviously, I'm not out shooting them. Obviously, there's plenty of people who have offered me firearms and even put firearms in my hands. And I'm obviously not doing it. The mathematics of hunting pedophiles. The point is to put the pedophiles away, to show you their tactics and their tricks. A lot of female predators, sexual predators, get away with it for literally years because of the stigma attached to males being victimized, and male sexuality. A male is told he's supposed to be glad that he got laid. Duh. Yes, I am a survivor of sexual violence as a child, not just from adults, but also from the other children I was locked up with. I was locked up with the most fucked up kids of the most fucked up kids. And who are the ones that they most commonly chose when they wanted to rape somebody? Somebody with physical disabilities who couldn't get away from them. Somebody who was smaller than them. Oftentimes, well, somebody who's autistic was chosen because nobody listens to them. They're assumed to be retarded, but they don't have visual markers of retardation, and they're most commonly known as highly intelligent people. I'm talking about primarily the ones with Asperger's, now known as high-functioning autism. High-functioning is only based on our IQ, but it's a belittling phrase, because just because we have a high IQ doesn't mean that we're capable of taking care of ourselves. It doesn't mean that the stigmas that are attached to us don't harm us for the rest of our lives. The mentally ill tag, when you're abused and you try to tell on your abuser and nobody listens to you because you're retarded with an IQ of 172. Holy Christ, no, it's that you've got assumptions. To stupid people, intelligent people seem like crazy people. You're too dumb to understand that's not my fault. Or you've got too many bias that you've got set in stone. Or there's somebody like, what did she call herself? Vegan Booty. She's selling sex as an image to get money to slander men and make fun of men's penises and possible erectile dysfunction, and claiming that this lady was outright claiming that Isaac Butterfield eats babies and therefore has erectile dysfunction. Isn't that always the go-to when a man doesn't do what you want or speaks up, says something intelligent? Instead of an intelligent rebuttal, it's an insult, isn't it? It's always an insult, isn't it? Oh, well, you're probably a pedophile. You probably can't get it up. You have no valid argument is the problem. You have no leg to stand on, except sexism. You're a sexist who pretends that it's misogyny when you're a sexist. It's men's fault that you're a sexist. Do you not get that you're blaming literally everything on men, but you're letting pedophiles get away? The Me Too movement has done more to assist pedophiles in getting away with their crimes and assist rapists in getting away with their crimes than anything that come prior. More instrumental in making sure that it's a gender bias and a gender gap. This woke society, we're supposed to feel sorry only for women and children victims, and we're also now being told that we have to feel sorry for the pedophiles that molested us and raped us. Are you fucking kidding me? But nearly everybody's got so much hate, they're not willing to try the legal route. No, they want to talk about how they would kill them, but you wouldn't kill them, would you? You would want to put the guns in my hands. Go, oh, well, he's mentally ill. He's vulnerable and desperate. Let me tell you about when I was younger. My older brother was pretty fucking vulnerable. He was not quite as street smart. And I just followed along with whatever my older brother did. So some older kids decided that they wanted to. They literally bullied me and my older brother into going into the back of this house for a container of bubble gum. Bullied us into going into that house and getting their bubble gum because they weren't going to do it. They didn't want to take the risks. They didn't want to get in trouble. Not fucking cool. But then again, we're the bad guys because we committed the act, right? Well, that's the thing about Natalie Bollinger and all of these other people who wanted to slander me because they were embarrassed. Oh, Natalie Bollinger is not to blame. It's not her fault that Tim Beeson did what he did. It's not her fault that her sister did what she did. It's not her fault that Alicia did what she did. It's not her fault that any of these people did what they did, even though their reasons for doing this was slander that started with Natalie pretending I stalked her. Playing on what you all know how to do. Play victim, play victim, play victim, play victim. If you want to play victim, I'll be the dick. You want to accuse me of claiming you're a pedophile when I didn't? Well, you must have some guiltiness on your conscience. You want to claim I called you a pedophile when I didn't, after I called you out for accusing me of being a pedophile when I told you to go away. This is after I asked you to go away. After I let you know what the consequences would be if you didn't leave. I'm going to show it publicly anyway, but if you want to be an asshole about leaving, yeah, I'm going to show that. I do show how inappropriately we allow women to treat men in this country and look the other way because they deserve special treatment. Singing. Men, no matter what emotions they show, they're talked over and talked down to unless it's aggression. Why does a man have to scream at you for you to hear what he's saying? Why does he have to yell over the top of you because you won't stop increasing your volume and talking over him? Why do you get irate and berate him when he has literally listened to you for 4 hours? All of your assumptions and all of your crap. Meanwhile, your assumptions are wrong, and I'm not allowed to show you why because you're not going to look at it. When you say you're going to help, you're not expected to actually help. That's what men are for. That's how you treat us. And then you want us to feel sorry for our predators? You want me to feel sorry for the pedophiles? You want me to pretend that because I have a penis that I must be a rapist and I need to owe everybody an apology for existing? That because I was born with a penis, it's magically okay for Nicole Jarrell to shove Carrotzilla in my backside when I had told her repeatedly that I was not okay with that? Did she stop and try to understand that after growing up with people shoving their parts in my backside, that no, I was not okay with that? Oh yeah, and she went to Naropa University. That's right. Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado, the same college as Zaid Atkinson, to become a therapist. I want you to break that word down, the rapist. And I want you to assign that to Nicole Jarrell. Her picture is on my YouTube. She's one of the people that I went to for help about the abuse by Natalie Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger and Maddie Boa and all their fucking little crackhead buddies. You really think my brother or any of my friends that I knew down there who only accepted me because they were druggies and junkies, and at least with me not being a druggie or a junkie, I was trustworthy? With me not being an alcoholic, at least I was trustworthy, or more trustworthy than the rest. Plus, I had a vested interest in Boulder, Colorado, and they all knew it. I was good to everyone. Even them kids that I ran off, I was being good to them by running them off. Because if you don't run them off, you know what happens? They turn into Christine Buhit. Or they turn into, well, Natalie Bollinger does not get to fit into that category. She had her whole life handed to her. Once she was an adult, all she had to do was stay off the fucking drugs. I stayed off the drugs, and I never had the opportunities that she did. No matter how intelligent I am, my disabilities still exist. Even though I am high functioning, that does not mean that I don't still need help, that I don't still have disabilities. The post-traumatic stress disorder of being assaulted, sexually assaulted growing up doesn't hurt me still. That physical assaults don't hurt me still. And you want to pretend it's only a heinous crime if it happens to a woman. If it happens to a man, he needs to just shut up. Or he needs to be glad he got laid. Well, our female predators, if they get anything at all, it's a slap on the wrist. Brenda Griffith of Alliance, Nebraska. You can look her up on the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. Why is she on there? Because as a child care worker, she was having sex with her boss's underage son. He's an adult now. Yes, I was there for the situation, for her getting arrested and getting busted and all of that. That happened in Chapel, Nebraska. We do not owe it to the pedophiles to feel sorry for them, but we also have to look at the logistics. You guys are fucking idiots. Every single one of you who says that you would shoot pedophiles, don't. How many pedophiles do you think you're going to get before you get busted? How many? And how many of those people never get a day in court? So you got to make sure that they're guilty first. You got to make sure that you collect the evidence, collect the words of the predators themselves as well as their victims, which I do. When it comes to doing something about pedophiles, if you kill the pedophiles, you're just giving them numbers. You're giving our enemies, those who would defend our predators, you're giving them fuel for the fire by turning our rapists into martyrs for their cause. It's fucking pitiful because the courts are falling for that shit. They're making it so that it's illegal for you to defend yourself now against pedophiles and rapists. Look at the case of Teresa Massilia or Christine Kelly. Whether or not he's a rapist is highly dependent upon who he chooses to rape. If he picks an at-risk adult, all he's got to do is infer mental illness. People will automatically stop listening to the man. When you're in a state of crisis, all of these mandated reporters are taught to listen and how to recognize that you're in a state of crisis. But without a friend or family member there, they can do the opposite of what they're trained to do, which is antagonize you, talk over you, let you know that they don't give a shit. They can belittle you and berate you and treat you like you're a bad person. They can talk over you before you get to tell them any details and tell you it's not illegal, Really? How is it that people usually tell what happened? They're in a fucked up situation. The first thing they're going to do is tell you the crime that was committed. When they were raped, they're going to say, I was raped. And then once you start talking over them from that point, literally all they to tell you is that they were raped. And then you've talked over them for 5 minutes, belittled them, berated them, told them you can't do anything, and it's somehow not a crime because you're not giving any details. How can I? You can see how officers do that with physical assaults against at-risk adults too. See, just like those physical assaults, rape isn't about getting off. It's about power and control. It's about taking the power and control of another human being's life away from them. The same as false accusations, because you were angry, because you were embarrassed. When you cry wolf, I'm not against you crying wolf, and I'm going to tell you why. The story of crying wolf is a story of, well, there's the shepherd and has these sheep, but of course, this shepherd, will make it politically correct as best we can, as a them, they. We'll just say the shepherd. So the shepherd is tending the sheep. And because the shepherd is young and the shepherd has no parents, the village says, hey, for your protection and all that, and to help maintain your flock so that you don't lose your earnings, so that you don't end up starving to death. If you see a wolf, scream wolf. We'll come out immediately. We will protect the flock and we will get rid of the wolf. So the shepherd is out there and gets bored and just wants somebody to talk to. And so the shepherd screams, wolf, wolf, and all the people show up. And there's no wolf. And the shepherd explains, well, I needed attention. I was feeling lonely. And so they understand. Then the next time, there's a situation and, he's, or she, or they, them, the shepherd is out there and one of the sheep is being stubborn. It's in the thicket and it's behind some brambles, and it's a situation where the shepherd doesn't really want to deal with it and is just angry. The shepherd's had to deal with the fact that sometimes animals don't do what you want right when you want them to. So the shepherd screams, wolf, 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 and everybody from the town comes running to help, and the shepherd, explains, I got the sheep stuck there, and, I was just angry. Just like when I explained what happened to Rayanne Ingersoll. I explained her what happened when she pretended to be victimized. And she said she was sorry, she was angry, and I'm supposed to just accept that. Well, the shepherd in this story says, I'm sorry, I got frustrated and I was angry. And they understand. And of course, time goes along and another one of those instances happens, The shepherd's got a situation where, the shepherd's really missing its parents. Of course, if I say it, that might be construed as objectionalizing. So I don't know how to reconstitute the English language to make this story work, but I'm doing my best. Please don't hate me over a fucking word, especially when people change the word disabled to ill. If someone is mentally disabled, they have rights. If you call them mentally ill, you take them all away immediately, including their right to be heard without somebody who loves them, who cared to find out what was going on. All these people who said they believed me, did they show that they believed me by helping me to turn it in immediately and saying, hey, Sean's honest? No, they procrastinated When I explained to him I'm supposed to go to a friend or family member and we got to turn it in together right away so I'm not blown off. I'm a male who's homeless. Please understand. Please try to understand. That means nothing to you. Oh, well, I'm a woman. Or, you know what? That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm black. Fuck, please don't do that to me. Please don't do that to the other victims. Please stop doing that. Please stop. That is the most selfish thing you can do, is making it about you. The most selfish thing you can do. When a victim is trying to trust you, to be their friend, to help them in a situation like this. It was because of how my friends and my family treated me for over 1.5 years before Natalie was killed. Over 1.5 years. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be blown off. That they don't even find out that you were just assaulted because they're busy telling you they don't have the time. They're too busy. And then they start telling you about their kids and about having the cold last week and about the time that they broke their leg, but thank goodness it's not broken anymore. And oh my God, pretty soon this person who's had no time has spent 2 hours talking about themselves and 2 hours telling you that, well, talking over you to tell stories about themselves before you get to the point. And it's easy for somebody who's autistic to tell you straight up how it is, blunt and to the point, but also there's situations where, yeah, there are things that if I was to say blunt and to the point, yes, I did in fact threaten Ted Bollinger, and just leave it at that, that just makes it look like I threatened him. It doesn't explain why or how many times I was threatened or why I was threatened. Or how many times Ted Bollinger and his family had been allowed to do this to me. Allowed to do it. Police looked the other way. Jordan Anderson looked the other way. Graham Milbourne spoke when he slept through the whole goddamn thing. Laura Nelson has been a part of this since before I went to Virginia. But you get to see how she gets to hide behind her children, hide behind her house and her property, the things that she could potentially lose by coming forward. No, 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 no. You know goddamn well that you're a mother with children, and if those are legit fears, you need to be heard, because Leslie Snell's fears are absolutely not valid. And you fucking know it, Laura Nelson. But did you ever come forward? No. And because you never came forward, just like with John Apolius of Chapel, Nebraska, who was basically bragging about seeing Doug Cowden, you know, one of those, oh, I knew he was a pedophile, and I should have turned him. That's right, you should have. And according to the state of Nebraska, you broke the law by not doing so, John Apolius. There's a reason Rayanne Ingersoll hates you and Stretch. That's David Roop, also of Chapel, Nebraska. Same reason a lot of girls who are victims of rape and abuse by their stepdads or dads. The other Doug Cowdens, Michael Alberts, Andrew Witchers, Mark Richmonds. Those people do exist. By exposing them and collecting the evidence and collecting the words of their victims and their families and friends about the situations. Oh, and many people want to change their story after the fact, don't they? They'll tell you in good confidence, but when it comes to the police or the public or stopping the abuse from that person, making sure that that pedophile doesn't get to do it to others ever again. And what do? You want to change your story or just fall off the face of the planet. Just hide and disappear and pretend you don't exist. Let people pretend like you're a figment of my imagination or some imaginary character from a storybook that I made up. John Apolius After telling his bragging story about seeing Doug Cowden molesting a child, really, you really thought that was going to improve how people saw him in Chapel, Nebraska? Oh, hell no. Even worse than that, he didn't turn it in. Those little girls who were raped by their dad, that's not what led to them cutting, and eventually with some of them committing suicide. That's not what led to them getting locked up. What led to them getting locked up and having all their rights taken away by the mentally ill tag is that mom didn't listen, and that girl had to do something desperate to be heard. Yes, she needed that attention. You're absolutely right about that, but the way that you insinuate it, oh, she's just trying to get attention. Do you stop to ask why? Why is she acting out horribly like that? Because she tried coming to you and you blew her off. She was afraid to say anything because of you. And when she was able to put on her, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to say something. I hope I don't get blown off. I hope that this doesn't become one of those horror stories where the mom yells at the girl or the boy. But then when it does become that, you're afraid to speak up again. You have to normalize with your predator. You have to normalize with your predator. You have the honeymoon period where your predator, your dad, after he did what he did, you went and told your mom and she didn't listen to you. She yelled at you, but he's definitely going to know about it. He's definitely going to hear about it from her. Oh, and he's going to be so nice to you for the next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks. Or when your mom's there, he's going to talk down to you and shout at you because how dare you do something like that, and you're still on restriction. You're still in trouble. Nowadays, you can't even tell your guidance counselor. As a boy, you never could. They're going to tell you there was nothing they could do, but if a girl turned in her dad, they'd do something. Whereas if it was a situation where it was the summer and she didn't have access to the guidance counselor, and she told her friends, she even tried telling a few of her friends' parents, sometimes one of those girls' friends' parents will call it in with her and the cops will show up there, and that's what I needed. Just like at Jared Scudder's, the first person to ever try it. You get to see how hard I fight for the LGBT community. How hard I get to fight and have to fight for all of the victims of these crimes, regardless of whether they're black or white, whether they're interested in men or women. But I will not, for the fucking goddamn life of all of us, I will not pretend that pedophiles are innocent fucking victims. I will not pretend that the victim should be taught to feel sorry for fucking pedophiles. When you victimize us enough that we literally have to scream at the top of our lungs for help, or literally threaten our predators publicly so that it's seen, so that we get attention drawn to us in a way that hopefully the police won't explain it off and talk people into going away and stepping off where they can't hear. Hopefully somebody pulls out their cameras or steps up in that moment and says, I'm going to do something, instead of what happened in Hood River or in Boulder or in Longmont. See, pedophiles, they don't like being told on. You get to see how many pedophiles targeted me. Robert Franklin Warnick wanted to target me because he heard rumors, or because I looked in a window in a place that I walk by frequently, and so do others. I had to walk 13 extra blocks through Chapel, Nebraska, a tiny town, where I was only 3 blocks from the post office, But because of Robert Franklin Warnick, I couldn't see pretty much the only friend in town that I had, which was Jeff Baldridge. I couldn't see him because walking past his house could result in him coming out into the street and threatening my life, chasing me to Pump and Pantry and threatening to assault me and trying to bully me into being his friend on Facebook. Then there's Kenneth Zarecki on here. You guys protect our predators. Here's how hard Chapel, Nebraska worked together to protect Kenneth Zarecki. I told the story of Kenneth Zarecki, and I didn't tell his name. I just told the story. And people in Chapel, Nebraska, who watch my channel, knew exactly who I was talking about. They knew the truth of what I was saying well enough to warn Kenneth Zarecki, and he abused his power as an employee of Pump and Pantry to try to scare me and threaten, harass, and intimidate me. But I tell you what, even though he threatened me with Rhonda never once treated me badly, ever, over the situation. That's a different Rhonda, the one that works at Pump and Pantry in Chapel, Nebraska. You don't stop to realize that this internet stuff follows people everywhere they go. While many of my predators or my former friends who look the other way, now their faces are up and they hate me. They play like I have done some horrible thing by showing the truth when they should have come forward with it to begin with. They never should have played friend. They never should have played stupid. And worst of all, they never should have played victim. I'm not going to feel sorry for the fucking pedophiles. You want us to get an education on how to feel sorry for fucking pedophiles? Do you make any attempt to understand autism beyond the parts that you can use to try to pretend it's the victim's fault when the victim is autistic? Or to antagonize the person until they have communication difficulties? Or to take them away from their safe place, where they feel protected and have trusted loved ones nearby that might help in person if they could see those people in person, and you get to hear them excuses. When I was socially isolated from them people because I had to be afraid of being harmed, they get to make the excuse of, oh, well, I'm in a different state, or I'm too far away. But you get to see how my predators got to do these things from Texas, from Oklahoma. The people who threatened to kill me got to do so from all over the world. Look up the name Natalie Bollinger. Scroll down. Check it out a little bit. Go to the ones that were made this week, the ones that were made this month, the ones that were made this year. You'll find lots of them where it's me angry speaking. Now, let's get back to the point of crying wolf. Why do I think crying wolf is okay? Because there might be a wolf. If you're that shepherd out there, it is okay to cry wolf. It's just only okay to cry wolf if there's a fucking wolf. If there's a predator, not all wolves are the same breed of wolves, are they? Not all wolves are timber wolves. Not all wolves are western gray wolves. Not all wolves are the same. Not all wolves are the same. If you go crying wolf, and the villagers come and there is a wolf, there is a predator. No matter what type of wolf it is, you're supposed to cry wolf. No matter what type of predator it is, you're supposed to announce the predator. Here's the logistics of it. If you want to do it with a gun, you're going to deprive your friends and your family of your presence while you're in prison. Also, you're only going to get rid of a few pedophiles before you get busted. And they're protected, so you're going to get extra time no matter what. Even if they survive it, you're probably going away for life. Because pedophiles are protected. You generalize that it's bad, and then you talk about guns instead of trying to help the victims turn their predators in. And you do this especially so if it's a male. Especially if they're homeless. Especially if they're broke. Especially if they're not good looking. Especially if they're disabled. And you change words. Oh, I gotta try to figure out everyone's acronym. I gotta know your acronym when I first meet you, even if you don't have the label on you. Meanwhile, you want to tell me that it's not okay to put labels on people while you label me mentally ill and sicko and psychopath because I'm speaking out about how you talking about killing them isn't doing anything. It's just empty words from fake people who are too cowardly to step up and do the right thing, which is to go in with the victim and turn it in. Not talk about yourself. They have just been victimized. If you listen to them, just because they're talking too fast, understand they are going to breathe. They're going to take a breath. And the less you interrupt them, the less frustrated they're going to get. And the less frustrated they get, the more they're going to be able to speak more calmly and more concisely. If you miss something, don't worry about it for right now. Wait for them to calm down a little bit and try to explain the rest of their story as best as they can. No, the words aren't necessarily going to come together and be coherent when it literally just happened or when they have had to deal with long-term fear of this because it keeps happening. I'm not going to pretend that pedophiles deserve special rights or special protections, because any woman can accuse a man of being anything of that nature just because she's angry and go door to door, but never take a man to court over it. She just slanders him to his friends and family. Then later on she can deny it. Oh, I never said that. And if your friends and family don't care, you're a homeless, disabled dude. What do they fucking care? You don't fucking matter. Once they've gotten into it and tried to stick their noses all up into it, and then they want to say, oh, you know, I don't want to be dragged into it. You put yourself into it. You inserted yourself into it. You put your foot in the door when I was closing it. When I was telling you to leave, for example. Look how many people, when I just simply asked them to go away because they weren't helping me, they weren't trying, they were making zero effort. They were making lots of efforts, but not towards anything useful. Are you going to help me to turn it into the cops? No. Then you're not doing anything useful. Oh, I hate boogers so much. God damn it, where the fuck is my snot rag? So I got a lot of anxiety. I'm scared all the time. I got to be afraid that any woman that I might glance up, she can be pointing her camera at me for 5 minutes, just pointing it at me, gawking awkwardly like a fucking sicko. And then if I look up and meet eye contact with her or see her phone and my eye is attracted to that, maybe it's got a glare on it and it's hitting me right in my fucking eyeballs. Why? Because she's pointing her goddamn camera at me. And if I look up, oh my God, he's looking at me. Run, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. The guy that I was just fucking perving on, just gawking at, just trying to troll for a response, all he did is look, and you treat him like he's shitty? Meanwhile, you want to tell us, look me in the eye, look me in the eye? When we're talking to you or you're talking to us, look me in the eye? I'm autistic. I don't want to look you in the eye. If I'm looking you in the eye, I'm not listening to anything you're saying. I'm trying to focus on looking you in the eye. I'm trying to focus on not doing this because I have Tourette's syndrome, because you might pretend I'm hitting on you. And that is rapey, of course, because I'm not an attractive man. I take the blame for pedophiles simply because I was born with a penis. I take the blame for violent men simply because I was born with a penis. And you call me mentally ill, and even though mentally ill people are far less likely to get violent, far less likely, their predators are far less likely to be incarcerated, and there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Just so you know, a jail or prison is a care facility. If you're a disabled or at-risk adult and you're in one of those facilities, the same laws as if you were in a group home or a foster home or an older folks home still apply. That also goes for the county jails, city jails, any lockup they may put you in. When the cops are only willing to listen to your predators, and they're not willing to even try to talk to your friends or family about the situation, or your friends and family are trying to hide it because they would have been able to come forward before, and it wouldn't have been a big deal that they were also drug dealers or drug addicts. They could have helped me before Natalie was killed by coming forward, because it wasn't public scrutiny the way that it was after she was all over the news for disappearing, and they tried to paint me as a super psycho serial killer rapist. Natalie Bollinger said we never had sex. She even typed "ew," but also our messages between each other showed that she was infatuated with me and she thought she was in love with me. That was when she was a child and I was running her off. I shouldn't have to yell. The logistics are simple. If you collect the evidence and turn them in with the victim when the victim tells you, when you do the right thing, right then and right there, well, then maybe I'll consider you a good person. Jared Scudder did the right thing. He was the first person to actually do it right. The only problems that we had is, number one, that's one of the officers I'm trying to turn in. I've come to realize that I got to turn in literally every officer here. Even if they weren't the one that was doing the majority of the speaking in these instances, they were still present. And they still just watched or still did this. The thing is that one person who is vigilant, who is listening, can literally potentially help out hundreds of victims to make their reports safely simply by making the call with them and helping to get them a place where they can sit down with the evidence in peace and quiet and make the phone calls that they need to make and look for the evidence that they need to find without being distracted nonstop by a loud environment that they're stuck in, afraid of being victimized at any point in time because they're unsightly or because they're the wrong gender or because they're not familiar, or because people hold such bias and disdain, or because you were forced to talk about things that are inappropriate to speak about in public. Not so much for a female, but for surely for males. You're more likely to tell a man that he's not allowed to talk about something, and you're more likely to ignore a woman while she talks about whatever she wants. My evidence needs to be seen, and a lot of these people who wanted to use men that I know, who they wanted to claim were pedophiles and rapists, as excuses not to tell the truth about me, or about their situation and their involvement in it. Well, you're disgusting. I'm not going to pretend that what these pedophiles did was okay. I'm not going to pretend that the people who took advantage of me and my disabilities, or the officers who wanted to diagnose me with things that they literally cannot diagnose me with, they're not capable. Neither is a facility that you're only in for 20 hours. It takes 4 to 6 months, asshole. Nice try, though. There's also only specific doctors that are able to diagnose such things. And, oh yeah. Well done, stupid. That's the thing, is that I literally had to break the law to act with the same aggression that my predators were treating me with, for you to even do anything other than just talk pretty words. And none of you helped me to turn it in. I had to do that in the hopes that my predators would turn it in. And that I could explain to my public pretender, hey, this is what's going on, this is who needs to be gotten a hold of. But of course, the public pretenders weren't interested in that, were they? They were only interested in trying to intimidate me into rolling over. You know what rolling over is, right? I'm not talking about being a narc. I'm talking about being a roll through in the jail. You just plead guilty and it'll be easy for all of us. We don't have to do any work and you can leave. But then they don't let you leave, do they? Because they didn't do their job with any of the other stuff they were supposed to either. Oh yeah, we took care of the stuff with the other courts. Oh yeah, we took care of it. No, the fuck you didn't. You can't be failure to appear if you're already incarcerated, but nobody bothered to tell anybody that I was incarcerated. Everybody that could have. My public pretenders, the officers, no, they intentionally withheld that information. They intentionally withheld the fact that I was incarcerated and therefore could not show up to court. They also intentionally omitted information like me telling the officers that literally I had to break the law because people were doing things that are horrible to me and my loved ones, threatening to kill us and our friends and family members. And officers had not tried at all at any point in time to investigate it or to call any of these witnesses and try to find out. Years later, some of the officers who were predatory in this wanted to pretend that they were going to investigate it and go talk to Laura Nelson and try to ask misleading questions. Like, well, how long did you know Sean was in love with Natalie Bollinger? Whoa, hold on a second, sir. I thought you said you couldn't investigate the stuff elsewhere and you were going to go talk to her about the crimes committed in town. What are you doing? You fucking nut job. That's what happens when you are sent to Scott DaCosta, when you are trying to turn in Scott DaCosta, the sheriff of Chapel, Nebraska, for crimes that he committed. It doesn't work so well. When the people that you're supposed to go to will outright lie to you, like when Nebraska State Patrol says that it's not their job to police the police. Really, whose job was it to investigate Polly Olson? Turned out that was Investigator Woods. The problem is that Investigator Woods committed crimes against me, did what he could to try to create a situation whereby I would be intimidated. Wanted to make excuses for my predators and do the whole thing that they do for a rapist. When they asked the victim, are you sure you didn't maybe ask for it a little bit? No, I didn't ask for it. Just like I didn't ask for Robert Franklin Mornick to walk out into the street and threaten to kill me outside of Jeff Baldridge's, forcing me to walk a whole lot extra with disabilities in order to get to the post office. No, I didn't fucking ask for that. When he threatened to assault me and tried to intimidate me into being his friend on Facebook, yeah, I fucking spoke up about those situations, didn't I? I minded my P's and Q's so I could get away, and I spoke up as quickly as I could once I got to a quasi-safe environment. But at that point, we still need mandated reporters to do their jobs. Not that Marcia Estrada is going to try. Not that Jen Beebe is going to try. Not that Nicole Peralta is going to try. Not that Jerry Sparks is going to try. There's nothing more disgusting than victimizing somebody until they're homeless. And then pretending like because they're homeless, they must be one of the type of people who victimize them into homeless and therefore must deserve it. Oh, your dad raped you and your mom looked the other way and you started cutting on yourself. Now you got the mentally ill tag, you were put in the system, and then you turn 18. You're dropped out on the streets with nothing, not an ID, not a driver's license, not nothing at all. Not a friend in the world. And usually when that happens, your first ticket is for urban camping. You know what that means? It means because you didn't have a place to stay that you've broken the law. Then they want to send you to youth shelters that don't have room. Youth shelters that'll take you until, some of them until you're 21. They're willing to take you in. That's what Natalie Bollinger had to look forward to because she couldn't stay off the drugs. They were going to put her in a halfway house. You don't want to know any of these dynamics. You don't want to understand any of these dynamics. You just want to say, oh, penis to blame, penis to blame. Logistically, you can turn in a lot more predators if you're not killing them. You can make an example of them rather than martyrs who want to feel sorry for them because they fucking died. Meanwhile, those of you who want to try to take advantage of an at-risk adult by trying to put guns in my hands and telling me to go shoot your predators, you are attempting to take advantage of an at-risk adult to try to entice them the same way that them older boys wanted to entice me and my older brother to go steal bubblegum. No, I wasn't going to fucking steal it, but me and my older brother were still scared enough to do as we were told. Yes, I followed my brother. No, I didn't steal shit. Yes, I was a participant. No, I wasn't willing. You'd say to us, oh, well, you had a choice, and really? Really? We had a choice in whether or not we were bullied, right? We had a choice in whether or not we got an ass whooping or did something that hopefully would not lead to an ass whooping. Well, I've taken a lot of ass whooping since then. A lot of ass whoopings. I'm not going to pretend that pedophiles deserve special rights or special treatment or special protections. I've seen what that's done for Mark Richmond. I've seen what that's done for Robert Franklin Warnick. I see how the rights for disabled people are allowed to be ignored at any point in time. And I see how, of course, with it being illegal to send me to my predators, especially after I've tried to turn them in and have been attempting and illegally prevented from doing so because I'm sent to Scott DaCosta to turn in Scott DaCosta. Again, whose job is it to police the police in Nebraska? Nebraska State Patrol. And what did Nebraska State Patrol do? Well, they had several different tactics. One of them was to tell me over and over as soon as they found out that police officers were involved, or that I was homeless, or that I was disabled. They often hung up the phone. They many times talked over me as if I was retarded and tried to send me on to somewhere else. But very commonly they said, it's not our job to police the police. No, it absolutely is. They outright lied to me and took advantage of a disabled and at-risk adult, assuming that nobody would care, and rightly so, because nobody cares. And they did write down a lot of notes on there, and they, of course, blackballed me from calling them. That's the problem with making me call alone. And you want me to feel sorry for the pedophiles. They're protected by the law. But you guys can falsely accuse somebody of doing something they didn't do. And you don't take it to court, do you? Of course not. These are the occasions where you're using that story for sympathy, but you don't want it getting out. You know, you're just trying to convince a man to show up and help you right now. Or a woman to come help you right now, and you don't stop to think of the repercussions for your victim for the rest of his life. So yes, I am one of those people who's against killing pedophiles. I don't think that you're going to kill enough of them to make a difference. You're just going to make martyrs of them and make it more difficult to see to it that they're incarcerated when they do these things. You're going to give them more protections if you kill them. Why is it the people wanted to suggest violence and murder instead of actually helping me to turn these people in? Why is it that they wanted to make excuses why doing it the legal way and the way that we agreed to do it? The whole reason that I wasted my time with them, because they said that they would do it that way. They would help me to turn in my predators. When it comes time to turn them into the police, though, everybody's got an excuse, don't they? They're sick. Their daughter's sick. Their son's got the flu. They got cancer. They got leukemia. I got tired of hearing that shit. That's not a valid excuse. You only use it because you think it's a valid excuse. But you know what? It's horrible, because if I repeat that you have cancer and that's why we wasted literally hundreds of hours, we wasted those hundreds of hours where you literally didn't keep your word through any of it to help me to turn it in. And all of that went down the tubes because now you supposedly have cancer like lots of other people. No, you've learned to play on that sympathy and the bias. If hiding behind your kids doesn't work like it's supposed to because you're sexist, then you'll find some other excuse that's supposed to be socially acceptable. Like, my God, he's a man, so he must be rapey. Fucking gross. No, I don't owe it to pedophiles to protect them, to keep their secrets. And logistically, the idea here is to get as many of these predators off the streets as possible, to get them registered as pedophiles. Not so that they have protections, but so that the whole reason for making them register, the protection of their victims. We've also taught women that they can use the internet to play on bias. This woke culture that says men can't be victims, and if they are, they need to shut up and go to the back of the bus, or they need to be ostracized because it's women's turn to be hurt. It's, sorry, but it's always women's turn to be heard. That's how we are taught as men. When it comes to false charges and false accusations, I believe all these people deserve their honest day in court. I also understand that getting them off the streets is the most important thing, and because I'm called mentally ill, my predators get to play off of that. Until there's somebody who actually comes with me for my protection, just like with a child who's being abused when they go to their trusted adult. The difference between them getting help and them committing suicide is whether you help them turn in their predator or blow them off. Please stop murdering the victims through neglect. Yeah, Dad's a sick shit and he should have gone to prison. But your son or daughter didn't kill themselves or cut themselves to ribbons over Dad doing that. They committed suicide or sliced themselves to ribbons because when they came to you for help, you showed them that they were unimportant to you, that what they were going through didn't matter to you, that they weren't worth listening to. Not okay. Logistically, killing pedophiles isn't going to do anything good. It's going to make things worse. Unless we make it legal by law. But we also have to guarantee that both sides are going to be heard. That one side or the other isn't going to be illegally prevented from going to court, or be forced to jump through a bunch of expensive hoops as a disabled person on a fixed income while being targeted by the public. And then you want to pretend it's okay to victimize me like this because I'm autistic. It's not okay to treat mentally ill people this way, but you use the term mentally ill to discredit us. So, literally, by calling us mentally ill, you're making sure that we're discredited and that the only option we have to stop this abuse is suicide, and that's not okay either. Why would you push people to commit suicide and call it help? And you want me to feel sorry for the pedophiles. You want me to be woke about how pedophiles are people too. Yeah, sure, they're people. They should be entitled as American citizens or as people on American soil to a fair trial, not a trial of bias and gaslighting. You're damn right I speak out about the pedophiles. You know how we end these videos? Good to be rid of you. Thank you for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's too, and no victim left behind. Regardless of skin color, racist. Regardless of gender, sexist. I don't owe you shit. And you do not get to blame me for the things that you do to make society happy. You want to paint on your face? I didn't ask you to. And I'm not interested in it. I don't care if your face is painted or not. Where's your brain? Do you have a brain? Do you use your brain? Yeah, you're the people I like. I guess you could call my preference zombie. Because I like people with brains. Har har har.